Greetings again. We're on the air once more with our Oral History Project. This is Ray Mofield speaking for WCBL Radio in Shelby, McCallum, owner and general manager. And this program, as you know, is paid for by the station. And the tapes that are produced are available for the use of our citizens from now on at the Benton Library, the Pogue Library in Murray, and the State Archives in Frankfort. We're fortunate to be visiting in the home today of Mr. I.B. Krone, who lives, I believe, at 635 Chestnut Street in Calvert City. And I suppose I could say he's one of our senior citizens. Mr. Krone, thanks for letting me come into your home. And would you tell us how old you are?
88, the 89, third day of February.
Well, you certainly don't look it. I was just commenting a moment ago that you got around better than I do.
Thank you, sir. That's
You drove your car today.
Yes.
You've been to Benton. And so you just look to be a man of about 60 years old.
Well, when I retired, I didn't sit down in the rocking chair. I kept doing something. I have a workshop, and I make things, furniture, clocks, and so forth. So when I nothing to do, I go to the workshop and keep busy.
Well, that's fine. Where were you born, Mr. Krone?
Lyon County, about 5 miles west of Katoa, in a place called, at that time, Azalea. It's gone now.
Do you remember anything about the ironworks over there?
Oh, yes. And they opened it up, you know, when the Second World War was, Grand Rivers. But it didn't last long. The first workings of it, they, I guess, had a crooked deal. They sold stock and so forth, and then it went down. Everybody thought that was it, just a scheme to make the money.
After they got the money, they went out of business.
Went out of business.
That's happened so many times. Well, let's get the names of your parents on the record. Your father was
I.L. Krone.
And your mother?
Was Elizabeth Templeton Krone.
Do you happen to know your grandparents on either side?
Well, on the Krone side, there were Jacob, and at the moment, my grandmother's name slipped. They're buried in cemetery Katoa. And on my mother's side, married at Macedonia, and they were both of them slipped.
Well, Mr. Krone, that name doesn't sound like Smith or Jones or Brown. What nationality was that?
That was German. Name Krone. Since I got in World War I, I found that in that crown. Very popular then, but not anymore.
Yes. Right you are. Could you tell us where you went to school?
Anderson School. I have a picture of that school, and I was looking at it just the other day. It's been made into a residence, one-room school. That's during the early years.
Yeah. Can you remember any of your teachers' names?
Oh, yes. Alan Thompson turned out to be my brother-in-law later, and Bertha Arnold, Elsie Prince. That's about it.
Well, isn't that good? That's fine. And the one-room schools produced some very wonderful people, and those folks, if they did know reading, writing, and arithmetic,
I think I did get that.
In fact, they got those basic subjects better than our present-day schools do, perhaps because we try to teach too much.
Well, it was a pretty good school. They had competition in it for spelling and reading. And
were those spelling bees?
They had them pretty often. I'd say 3 or 4 times during the school year, we call it. But we enjoyed that school, even if it was just small.
And you got to take the 8th grade 8 years, and the 1st grade 8 years, and the 2nd grade. So
it's all together.
You heard everybody. Did they pass up to a bench in front and recite?
That's where they were, in front. We all walked up. When we spelled standing up. The one that missed, he went to the foot When he worked his way back up to front, he tried at the top of the class. He tried to stay there. That was a little nice. I appreciated that.
You also had recess and played games around the court and on the grounds, I guess.
We had a game called town ball. There wasn't enough to have baseball, so we played town ball. They took about 5 on the side, I believe. And that way we throw the ball in front of him, man. If he crossed over that line, he was out.
Yeah.
He didn't have to tag him.
Well, after you were graduated, I presume you lived on a farm.
Oh, yes. Little farm, raised tobacco, corn, few hogs, few cattle. And didn't have much money, but plenty to eat. Such as it was.
That was the story of most of us back in those days. So, all right, now, how long did you stay and work with your dad on the farm before you got married?
Oh, I guess 5 or 6 years. Sold that place, moved over here. And
did you marry in Marshall County?
yeah, married Ernest Hall. And we lived together 52 years. She passed away nearly 8 years ago.
So you
3 girls, Anna, Dean, Betty, and Jill. And we live here, Betty in Paducah and Jill in Frankfort.
So they're all not too terribly far away. Frankfort would be the biggest distance, I guess, but still in Kentucky.
Well, close enough. They're all here at Christmas, Thanksgiving, and whatever day. 3 days.
Well, do you have any grandchildren, Mr. Krone?
I have 5 grandchildren, 1 great-grandson. 8 years old, I believe, the great-grandson is. The grandchildren are, no, one's not married. 2 boys not married, the others are. And some of them have families.
Do they like to help Granddad around the shop some?
Well, they're not here now. They used to. And they used to when they would go fishing with them. And he enjoyed that, too. Yes, I did.
Yeah, well, good. Tell us about life when you were first married. Did you go to play parties or?
No. When I first married, I went to work on the railroad. In fact, I was already working on the railroad. And that's where I stayed.
Was that the Illinois Central?
Illinois Central. I'd say from Memphis to Louisville. I was a clerk. The last 10 years, I was car service clerk at Paducah. When I first took it, the worst job I ever had, but I got it straightened out. Nice working when I got through. That's where they wanted me to stay, but I wouldn't.
Did you ever farm on your own after you left home, your father's house?
Nope. I just farm up here at Gilbertsville at the TBA. But the Dr. Purdy place, 160 acres there, pretty nice place. And
farmers had some terrible times back in those days with the tobacco trust, I guess about the time you were a young man. Do you remember anything about the Black Patch War, the Night Riders, and so on?
I remember a lot of it. They printed some things here in the Benton paper and the Paducah paper. It wasn't true. I was young, I'd think about 17 at the time, that was, maybe 16. But Henry Bennett was one of the one that got the worst whipping, was my brother-in-law.
Why did they whip people because they didn't join the association, or because they did, or both?
Well, these little tobacco bars, they bought on contract. The tobacco companies gave them a contract. They got so much for handling the tobacco. There was no way they couldn't pay but one price. And if they bought, but they run them out or whipped them, and it was on the vine, but the people had come to him and said they had to have the money. His brother ran the factory. There was 2 of them. There was 102 the night they come to his place. He had a boy that thought was dying, and they told him he didn't give a damn. If he was dying, they'd burn the house if it didn't come out.
That's a pretty frightening situation. Law and order just broke down, didn't it?
Well, there wasn't any at that time. Most of them were pro-night riders. A man backing up things. Dr. Ames, I believe, was his name. I'm not sure about that name. I was at Katie's, and he was a leader. I think he wanted to be. He knew, I think he knew, that the tobacco companies had a monopoly in Washington. Anyway, they had the parties, had the senators and so forth there, and all the liquor and the money and everything else. And they did nothing about it. And typewriters were just, what would you call it, working against ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, of course you had a sheriff in the county, but against 102 men or so, what could a sheriff do? He probably had one or two deputies.
Well, I had a cousin, Walter Krone, at Eddyville, was prosecuting attorney. They give him a day and a half to get out of town, and he give him part of it back, and the metropolis, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So they could get rid of the law enforcement people easy.
Mm-hmm.
Putting in trouble because the majority of people was night riders because it was getting nothing for tobacco. You couldn't blame them. They didn't understand the situation. It all started in Washington.
Mm-hmm.
After they found it out, it's too late.
You had a large tobacco trust and the old Duke Trust and so forth.
The Duke, I understand, was the man who started the monopoly.
Mm-hmm.
And the rest didn't come in with him. One order, one was the others. But
so these farmers were just striking out blindly in the only way that they knew.
well, we sold tobacco for 5 cents a pound. And they didn't make over 1,000 pounds an acre them days.
Mm-hmm.
Now they make 2, maybe 3. But children out there barefooted and few clothes. See farmers working for nothing. They could hardly make ends meet. It was pitiful. And that tobacco trust, that monopoly, you'd call it,
Mm-hmm.
which was bad. Kept those people in that condition. All of them. They couldn't do anything about it. But when they went to the night riding, that was the worst thing they could do.
Mm-hmm.
If they'd have used a vote, notified those people what to do, but 10 days they didn't realize that would happen.
Eventually, I know they sent troops to Murray, I remember, and the governor brought the National Guard down to keep order.
Oh, they had the troops over there. In fact, my brother-in-law, after he got able to get around, they beat him with thorn bushes, one on each side. Got him in a tree. That tree's still there. I passed there about a month ago. The old house and the tree's still there.
Some of those people were crippled for life. Did they kill anybody?
Oh, few got killed, not very many. When they went to Hopkinsville, Dr. Ames, I believe that's the man's name, he was wounded there that night. One was killed, and they took him and put him on the porch where he lived. But real few was killed. They done lots of things, but they didn't kill very many.
Now, when you got your first job, what did you make? Do you remember?
Well, I was extra. I worked every job nobody else didn't want to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Of course, people laying off, that's where, and we worked first in, first out. There was one job on the Paducah terminal that only paid $3.56 a day. From that up to $5.75, I believe, was about the highest.
But compared to farming, that was quite a bit, wasn't it?
Yeah. Make it fine. But farming's a good life. And they're making, I guess, pretty good money now. I don't see why they couldn't. But I've been out too long to even think about it.
How long a day did you have to work then? Was it 8 hours? Railroad.
8 hours. And when I first went to work, it was 7 days a week. But in about a year, they cut it down to 6 days a week.
Mm-hmm.
It was tough work. But it was a pretty good life. People on the railroad kind of seemed like a family. They worked together. I guess all companies do. I don't know about that.
Did you ever take a big fever to leave West Kentucky like a lot of people did and go to Detroit and make cars?
I didn't want to go to Detroit, but I did have a fever to go to New Mexico. It was homestead land there, 320 acres. And if I'd have been ahead a little money, that's where it'd have been. But I wasn't ahead.
You thought about going, but...
Oh, yes. Talked to my wife and I, but we had a wife and one little girl, and I couldn't quit my job.
Yeah.
But I talked to people from out there, and they said it's a fine country. I missed out on that.
It is an interesting area. I've traveled there a little bit. Well, what was when you worked out of Paducah, did you live in Calvert?
No, I lived in Paducah. I had done most of my work in the terminal, and we went out to different places. We'd get different jobs. Our job was bulletin. The oldest man wanted a job, he bid on it. If he was the oldest man, he got it.
Kind of a seniority system.
That's the way it was, strict seniority.
Well, what was Paducah like then?
Oh,
they have streetcars?
Streetcars, that was one thing I enjoyed riding. I don't know why, but I did. And I'll tell you another thing I enjoyed. If I worked third trick, we called from 12 to 8, third trick. In the morning, the sun began to rise. There was about 20 engines over Paducah at that time working at the same time. Mm-hmm. And the smoke going up and the sun shining on it was a beautiful sight. Of course, there's a little odor to it.
But it meant jobs and money, didn't it?
Oh, it meant jobs and money.
Mm-hmm. They ran a lot of passenger trains out of Paducah then.
There was 8 IC trains.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember how many.
NC and St. L? Well, I grew up at Hardin. I know they had about, when I was a boy, they had 4 trains a day, 2 north and 2 south.
Well,
but
they had 135, 136, 121, 122, 102, 101, 102, 103, 104. I believe that's 8, isn't it? Something like that.
Mm-hmm.
That was the passenger trains. 102, 103, and 4 was what they call fast trains. They only stopped in town, about like the Toy or Eddyville and Benton.
I guess you had a pass on the railroad.
Oh, yeah. Once in a while I run across one of those old passes. It looks good to see it.
Yeah.
Well, after I had 8 years seniority, I got a pass all over the system. And I could get passes over other roads any place I wanted to go, but I didn't go very often.
When did you get your first car?
First car was in about 28, I guess, 1920.
Remember what it was?
Oh, yeah. It was a Chevrolet Coupe. And I was a jack of all trades. The wooden posts in it had rotted out. I made new posts and put in it. Reworked the engine. I had a pretty good car.
Mm-hmm.
Had a little car run for several years.
What did you remember what you had to give for it?
Yeah, $60. It was a used car.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember the first Ford T-model we ever had at home. I think that cost $420.
Brand new.
Brand new.
Mm-hmm.
There was bright bumpers in front and behind. Most of them didn't have a bumper, but for some reason they got a bumper. They bought that while I was in the Army.
Mm-hmm.
Got home and had a car. But then I didn't stay long. I tell you, when I got home from the Army, I had a stomach trouble. I guess the stuff we eat, I couldn't work. I had to get a right job, and I thought I was getting a right job on the railroad, but it was turned out to be a walker.
Did you go to Camp Taylor to train?
No. I went to Auburn, Alabama. I was in the training school down there. And from there to, went across from there to Hoboken. Went across.
Got to Hoboken, New Jersey, and sailed from there to what, to France?
Yeah, what's the name of that French town there? In them days we went in the what do you call it, the bay, and they had no wharves. They anchored out in the bay, and the lighters come out, and we went out on those. Marched about 4 miles out in the country, and it was cold, freezing. Had some tents out there we put in. That night, our raincoats that we put on just froze to the ground. We had to pull them loose next morning.
What was the name of your unit? Do you remember?
310 Motor Transport. They're supposed to, advanced unit they call it, supposed to pick up all disabled trucks and repair them. And we, arms assigned, let's see, I guess
November 1918.
Yeah. And I got over there, I don't know, maybe 6 months before that, I don't remember. Anyway, before I got very close to the front arms assigned, and we went to picking up the old trucks and things that was disabled, all that could be repaired. I don't know why they did, but they did. And that was our job.
Did you ever get to go into Paris?
I went through Paris, but I didn't get stopped at about 2 hours. I went down to Lyons, back about halfway, and out to Dijon.
Did you own a home in Paducah?
Well, I bought 2 lots, sold one, built a small house, and a little later on, and I started building a nicer home, and then sold that, and I traded around, done very well.
I wonder what taxes were like then. Were they pretty low, I guess, compared to today?
Yeah. Best I remember after I built the first really nice house to live in, 5 rooms, 2 bedrooms. I think my taxes run about $18. I believe that's what it was. I might be a little high on that. The city tax wasn't that much.
Some people say that you go to Paducah then, they thought they'd been to New York because there was a 10-story building there, even in those days.
Yeah, when they built that 10-story building. I wasn't there at the time, but I thought we'd go to Paducah now and then, and I remember seeing them build it. But Paducah was a pretty good town, and I don't know, I enjoyed that.
Now, when did you just move to Calvert after you retired?
Yeah. After I retired, we lived in Roanoke 26 years. Of course, that work I worked on, most of the time I worked down at the Freight House on North 6th Street, you know, the old house that burnt down here lately, old Freight House. And worked in the office there. I had a desk right in the center of that building. It was a really noisy place for an office. When I took the job, it was rough, and they had no system to it. Instead of spotting coal by numbers, they'd spot by the kind of coal. Well, I didn't know anything about the kind of coal. I got that straightened out by using car numbers and spots. Had no more trouble. There was a Mr. Venom that was manager West Kentucky Coal. Them days, you know, they unloaded. West Kentucky did anywhere from 7 to 15 cars of coal a day in the wintertime. And getting those cars spotted at night, that's when the engine spotted them, pulled the entry and spotted the other, and that was my job, to give the engine foreman a list and switch list, where, respot and so forth. Until I got that straightened out, it was a miserable job.
Because about all the houses were heated by coal then,
weren't they? Oh, yeah, the coal was more than that smoke was, as I say, those engines.
Well, could you tell us something about your medical care in those days?
They had the old hospital, you know where the old building is now.
Riverside it used to be?
No. Out there across from a 10-cent store from Woolworth, that old building there, Caterjon building now.
Oh, the Illinois Central Hospital.
Yeah, sure. That was there. When I first went to work, we paid 50 cents a month. Hospital dues.
And then when you needed to go, you could go.
Yes, and when you wanted medicine, you go over there, and there was a nurse took care of the medical. So she handed out anything you wanted.
Well, you didn't have to depend on acidity like a lot of us did. You had modern service.
Anything they wanted, and I tell you, a lot of those employees imposed on that. They'd get stuff they didn't need and stack it up.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't do that. I was in that hospital for a they called the nose operation once. That was a bad one. Couldn't put you to sleep, and they cut your nose, trimmed your nose out.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't breathe it. It really helped. Old Dr. Reynolds did that. And I told him, boy, you don't mind cutting on a man and him sitting there, do you? He said, no, I bet.
It didn't hurt him like it did you.
Ooh, boy, that did. I know when I went back, when I took back to the room, my pajamas, everything was wet with perspiration.
Do you remember your first radio?
Yeah. That was a little, I can't remember the name of it. It was a little fellow.
Atwater Kent?
Might have been. I can't remember, but it was a small little spare fellow.
Mm-hmm.
But we thought that was wonderful.
You remember any of the programs you liked?
No, I'll have to skip that. I don't remember.
Probably remember Lum Abner,
Oh, yeah, Lum Abner,
Amos and Andy.
Amos and Andy. Now, that was a one I will remember. Amos and Andy, that was a pretty good program.
Then, of course, we've come all the way up to television today. And so there's been a lot of change in your lifetime,
Hasn't it? How much will it be in the next 50?
Well, I'm not prepared to say, but if there is this amount of change we've had before, it'll be different, won't it?
I think it'll be more.
Might very well be.
I think so.
Well, Mr. Krone, we've just about used up the time allotted for it. We have another minute or so. Do you have anything special you'd like to say to me or to the people here?
Yes, I appreciate. We moved back, let's put it this way, after I retired we moved back to Calvert City because my wife's people was here, some of mine was here, and it was awful nice people. I still enjoy it. The senior citizens has a place, or a club you might call it, I guess, the old Church of Christ building, and we meet there. Well, I eat lunch there every day. And I guess it's about 25 days. And it's nice to associate with good people.
Yes, sir.
And then another thing, a lot of people's come in here. Well, you hear people think that coming in they may not be so nice, but all the people we've met has been real nice people. We appreciate it a lot.
You're friendly with them, they're friendly with you.
Oh, very friendly.
We've had some good additions to Marshall County, came from all over this country.
Especially the ones, that come in living up on the lake. Well, they come down here. And every Saturday night we have a fun night. Everybody goes in, plays cards, plays pool, talks. It's really nice. And that takes up a lot of time.
Well, I think Marshall County has one of the best. In fact, they have 3 different units in the county, don't they?
That's right.
Calvert, Benton, Hardin.
That's right. They had a bean dinner up there, and the proceeds went to the school
For exceptional children.
That's right.
Yes.
I think they had about between $700 and $800 they gave them.
Well, I thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to talk with you and to visit in your home. And I've been talking to Mr. I.B. Krone at 635 Chestnut in Calvert City, who tells me he's 88 and within about 6 months or less, he'll be 89. 3 months, 4 months, okay. Well, this has been another in the series of interviews for oral history, produced for the State Archives in Frankfort, the Murray State Polk Library, and the Marshall County Library, and all produced by WCBL in Benton, Shelby McCallum owner. This is Ray Mofield. We return you now to our studio.